memorize it. I don't want you to memorize anything. Go look it up. Go look it up. Okay? So, when you're answering the question, what are the benefits of budgeting? Just go find it in the book. And in a different book, it'd be a different answer. Accounting is an art, right? It's also a little bit of science. 2 plus 2 equals 4. So the art, just go look it up in the book and get the answer right. Now, let's deal with the numeric question. What is different about this chapter compared to all the other chapters? Well, last week when we did 1 ABC, cost, volume, profit, when you did 1, you've done every one of them. They're all the same. They're all the same. And you say that they're all the same. The one in class had 1 unit level variable. The one for homework had 4 unit level variable. The one in class had 1 batch level. The one for homework had 1 batch level. Everything else was the same. And if I give it to you on the exam, maybe you'll have 2 batch level variable costs. They're all the same. But in this chapter, no 2 numerics are the same. No 2 are the same. So, what I do in this chapter is I select what are the 2 most difficult multiple choice numeric questions, and I do them in class because they are difficult. Okay, let's get started. So the first one, there's not much here, but it's enough to give you some difficulty. Let's read the question. Anybody want to make an opening comment? Opening comment? Well, it starts by talking about, let's just take the first 5 rows. It starts by talking about what type of accounting. Type of accounting. Okay, stop. There are 2 types of accounting. What are they? Accrual accounting and
cash.
Okay, gotta know that. Type. There are 2 types of accounting. Accrual accounting and cash accounting. Not today. Why do we have accrual accounting? Why can't we just have cash accounting? Well, not today, because I'm going to lose too much time. But we should know the answer to those 2 questions. Which one is easy, accrual or cash? Cash is easy. Cash is easy. Okay? 31 and 41, those 2 classes, that big, thick textbook is for accrual accounting. Now, when you read the first 5 lines, it's not going to say, this is accrual accounting. This is, we're not going to be that nice to you. You've got to be able to read a situation. You've got to be able to, wherever you work, go visit a subsidiary, a takeover situation, look at what they do. You've got to know what you're looking at. Read the first 5 lines. What type of accounting is it?
Accrual.
It's accrual accounting. How do I know it's accrual accounting? It's talking about sales and purchases. If it was cash accounting, what would it say? It would say receipts and disbursements, if it was cash. It's talking about accrual accounting. And you say, well, I don't think I need to worry. You do need to worry about it, because that's what makes this question difficult. It's commingling accrual and cash. Can you commingle, or you've got to keep them separate? You've got to keep them separate. Which one comes first, accrual or cash? You're right, accrual accounting comes first. Folks, you've got to know this from financial accounting. Accrual comes first. I sell it, I then get my cash. I buy it, I then pay for it. Accrual comes first. Cash comes second. Now, if accrual comes first, what must we do first in finding the answer? Got to do the accrual first before we can do the cash. You cannot solve this unless you understand these issues that we're talking about. So, that's accrual. Now, 6, 7, and 8. We start to talk about cash accounting. Cash accounting. Okay, let's go further. 28, so we're talking about purchases, the purchases, and when we're going to pay for it. Here comes the cash flow. Now this little bit here, labor costs and other operating costs. And we throw this little bit in here because if students don't understand something, they're all going to get it wrong. What must you understand when you see operating costs 11,000, depreciation 3,000? What must you understand?
No, you're not actually paying.
We're talking about accrual and cash. And accrual is which dollar amount? The 11,000, and the cash will be what dollar amount? 11,000 minus
3,000.
minus the 3,000. Okay? And that's just a standard trap that's put in there for all budgeting questions. Does the student understand accrual, cash, depreciation? Depreciation is not cash. It's merely accrual accounting. Okay? So as we read down here, what occurs to it? Okay? Now, the cash balance is a minimum cash balance of $19.50, and it must be borrowed in increments of $6.70. Now, who's looked at the problem, the major big problem you've got? It says something like that, doesn't it? It says you have to have a minimum cash balance, and you've got to borrow in increments of. Is that normal for a bank?
Yes.
Absolutely. That's standard policy in a bank. You have to keep a minimum balance of cash, and you can only borrow in increments, certain chunks. Okay? Okay, now what is the ending cash balance for March? So we want the number right down the end, right down here. Okay? So let's do it. Now, how do I put my solution together? Well, if I were you, I would not do this. And you say, then why am I doing it? Be patient with me. We read the question. And when we read the question, we saw that they threw at us accrual and cash. And that's standard to make sure the student can separate the two. Make sure the student can separate the two. Make sure the student knows which comes first. Accrual comes before cash. Well, if accrual comes first, just don't look specifically what I've got here. When we're setting up our solution, which bit should we set up first? Accrual. Accrual. And then we will scroll down the page and we'll do our cash. Well, what I didn't want to do in class is scroll up and down, so what did I do? I juxtaposed accrual and cash so I could get it all up on one screen. But I think that if I was you, a student doing it, do your accrual first, be happy that you've done it correctly, then do the cash. Okay? I was flirting with danger. You put it alongside each other, you better be very careful. Be very careful. Okay? I put them next to each other so I didn't have to scroll my screen all the time. Okay. Now, I've got January, February, March. I have my accrual and cash. Accrual and cash. Accrual. Now, accrual is on the left, cash is on the right? Tell me the obvious reason, because
Roll came first.
accrual comes first. Now, this is why you gotta be careful. Because my captions all the way down here is gonna commingle what?
Accrual and cash.
Accrual and cash captions. Everyone with me? So you gotta be a little careful. That's why I would have separated them if I was a student. Everyone with me? So as we go down the captions and go across the columns, recognize we're gonna commingle expressions from accrual accounting and expressions from cash accounting. Because I've gone and juxtaposed my accrual and cash. Ready to do it?
Yes.
Because this does get messy. Okay, that number was given to me. Now, you'll have in your problem, it'll have a little comment saying the token, bring down the dollar amount from D3. So we go up to D3, there it is. And I won't keep scrolling up and down, D3. There's the accrual. It then told me when these customers are gonna pay. 21% in the month of sale. So under the cash column, here comes the 21%. Let's now go over to the second month when the balance. Now, what could I have done there?
Multiply.
I could have had what I've got, or I could have, as the gentleman said, multiply, and I still get the same dollar amount. Let me stop my mouse for a minute. Okay, and then I get the same dollar amount. Okay, now get rid of the decimal places. Everyone with me? Now let's keep going. Purchases, under the accrual column. Where did I get that 11,200 from? Up top, purchases. We're only gonna do 1 month because February and March is the same as January. Okay? Now, up top it gave me the percentages when they're paying for these purchases. So it's 28%, and there's the balance of the payment in the second month. Okay? Everything so far nice and easy. Here comes the labor. That sentence up top said 14%. 14%. So there's the accrual. And labor, the cash will be the same as the accrual. That's why they're the same. Everyone okay? Okay? Now let's come down here. This was, yes, it's easy. But you'd be amazed the number of students that'll get it wrong. You were told that 11,000 was the operating expense, and there was close to $3,000 of depreciation. So we separated it. We separated it so that the cash part, we're keeping it separate from the depreciation part, because the depreciation part, there is no cash flow. Any questions on that? Okay, at this point, you're all saying nice and easy. Correct, it is. Now let's add up all the expenses, disbursements. Let's add it all up. And come down here, profit. Now let's deal with the cash flow. Okay, so here's the cash that came in, cash going in, deficit. Okay, so we have a deficit. Now the cash before borrowing, we started with 3,100. We have a deficit from operations to give us a net cash balance of a negative 6,800. And what did the question say?
To the minimum balance.
I had to keep a minimum balance of 1950, and I can borrow in increments of 670. So you will get this type of problem in multiple choice, and you'll get it in your multiple choice, and your big quiz problem, you have to do something similar right in there. And if you look at the pop-up, let me give you a little more space here. If you look at the pop-up,